I'm going to be going over mill functions and how to use it. So we use the mill in three main ways, the first of which being drilling precise holes of all sizes. So this is different from the drill press because we have the digital readout and can get the measurements very, very precise. And then we also cut down pieces to specific lengths. And then very rarely we make slots. These are usually for clearance. We also have to read part drawings, and these are given to you by designers after they design a part, and they follow a very specific set of rules. So the first thing, if you notice at the very top of the picture, it tells you the material that you're going to be cutting this from. And so this is a 1x1 light rail. And then the next thing is it normally tells you whether it's factory edge or not, and that's whether the hole on the edge is exactly 1/2 inch from the edge. And then it tells you the number of parts needed. So this is right at the bottom. It says 2. It also says the designer's name and subsystem. So there's Wraith, Nethery, and Lift. And it tells you the date that they created it. So this allows you to go ask the designers if you have questions or if they forget to add a measurement. And so the things that you read on these part drawings, the first thing is holes. So if you notice on the top one on the side, there's a number 20, and that is the size of the drill bit that you use for the holes, and it tells you exactly how far it is from the edge. So you'll zero on that edge and then go that far. The next thing is cutting to length. It tells you the exact length of these bars. These bars are 22.5 inches. And then there's also a slot on this one. So if you look on the second image of the back, it says that there's a slot through one side. What we normally do when we get a part is we cut it to length. So the first thing to do is make sure it's secure in the vise and there isn't too much hanging out, or else it's going to vibrate and have a not clean finish. The next thing is to account for the radius of the bit when you are measuring and calculating where to cut. So to account for the radius, you take the label and divide it by 2. We usually use 0.375. So you're going to adjust 0.375 on your measurements so that you don't cut too much. The next thing is we use conventional milling, which means that our end mill turns clockwise, which means we have to cut counterclockwise. So on that diagram on the right, if you are cutting on the right side, you are going to start close to you and move away from you. If you're cutting on the left, you start away from you and cut closer to you. So you turn it on and you line it up. Notice that they are on the closer side of the part, so they are cutting in the right direction. And you don't want to cut in increments of any more than the radius of the bit. We normally go in small increments. You go all the way there and all the way back without making any changes to the X value. And as you get closer to your finishing cut, you go in smaller and smaller increments. And on the finishing cut, you go in a really small increment to get a really nice finish. So another thing we do is drilling holes. So again, you want to secure the piece in the vise. Sometimes you will need parallels if you are going to be drilling in an area over the vise, because we don't want to drill straight into the vise. And then once lined up the correct X and Y on the digital readout, you are going to use the handle to lower the bit. You want to do this slowly and not applying a lot of force because it could break it. And occasionally there will be chips that get stuck in there, and you want to back the bit out before you continue to get the mill shavings out. So this video, he turns the mill on. He uses the lever to pull it down, not applying too much force, and going in a smooth motion all the way through the part. And he backs it out, and the hole is done. So the last function that we usually use on the mill for our FRC parts is making slots. This really isn't used a lot, but it is sometimes used for providing clearance. So on this part drawing on the right, it tells you slot through one side, and it has the measurements. So you want to make sure you get this measurement right because it's really easy to mess up. You need to remember to include the radius of your end mill in your measurements. And then when you're about to cut, you want to lock your y-axis in this case because you're only moving left and right. And then you have to, normally we drill like in the middle of it and then move left and right to the correct measurements. You want to use WD-40 and to move slow and steady. If you're new to this, I know it's very overwhelming to have all this information thrown at you online, but when we get back into the shop, you will get hands-on experience and we will continue to teach you along the way, so don't worry, and thank you for watching.